Hey, what's up, all of you beautiful subscribers? Welcome back to the Chapple Show. So if you want to become a millionaire, you got to do a lot of these things that we're going to talk about today. But the first thing I want to mention is, what is the definition of a millionaire? There's actually kind of two tweaks to this, two different kinds of definitions. One of the misconception ones is that you got to earn $1 million or more a year. That is not true. That is not the definition of a millionaire. The definition of a millionaire, I'll tell you the two tweaks here. One of which is your assets are worth over $1 million. All right. And the other one is if your net assets are worth $1 million. That's it. So for example, if you were to own a paid off house worth $600,000, a paid off vacation home worth $300,000, and you have $100,000 in the bank, you're a millionaire. And house, vacation, home, savings. That's it. You're a millionaire. And so net assets are, if you have debt, it subtracts from it. So that's a little bit different. That's the difference. So if you were to have let's say that $600,000 house, if you have $200,000 paid off and $400,000 in debt, that's actually negative towards your net worth. So those are the different definitions. So let's just jump right into this here, though. Let's start off with some numbers. 4.7%. Oh, whoops. 4.7%. What does that number represent? That number represents the amount of the United States population that are millionaires. 4.7%. That's about 1 out of 20. That's not bad. That's not bad. Or so there are some really fudgy things with that number there. So it could actually be lower. It could actually be higher because there's some household stuff. Like if you're 8 years old, or if you're a wife who's never worked, or a husband who's never worked, and your partner is worth over $1 million, are you a millionaire? Technically, by the law, yes. So, but anyways, so the number is 4.7%. Let's see here. 4.7% is millionaire. 7%. What does that number represent? That is the amount, that is the population of the United States that are business owners. 7% are business owners, which is, I mean, that's what, 1 out of 15, something like that. 1 out of 15 people are business owners. So why is that number important? It's because we're going to jump into the first point in a second, but 47% of millionaires are business owners. 47% of millionaires are business owners. All right, that's the very first number I wanted to hit you with. So pretty much if you want to be a millionaire, you got to start. Now, a lot of the times, you don't have to build a giant business, by the way. It doesn't have to be a giant multi-million-dollar business to be a millionaire, right? This is, if your business is making, even $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 a year, that's what your take home is. Over time, if you take home the profits and save it, you'll become a millionaire just by having a $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 business. This is not, you have to build up $1 million a year in revenue business. They're just business owners. A lot of them make $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year and will end up becoming millionaires. That's what happens a lot of the times. So now, because you're a business owner, sometimes you make more money. A lot of the times you make more money. Like you make $120,000, $150,000, $200,000, so on. All right, so that brings us to point number 1, is that in order to be a millionaire, you generally, the majority of the time, you have to be a business owner, executive, or manager. Now, this is not, I am not saying that you have to be those things to become a millionaire, because trust me, there's a plenty of employees who just, who are not in those positions, are not in a managerial or higher role, who end up becoming millionaires. That happens a lot of the times. But generally, the majority of the time, you have to be a business owner, or you have to be high up, or at least middle management in the company to become a millionaire. So those are the positions that you should aim for if you're working at a company, or if you want to start a company, if you want to be a business owner. Okay, number 2, increase income. Yeah, so increase income, it's an obvious one. And I'm not saying that this is an easy thing to do. I'm not saying that at all. But it is something that is important to think about if you want to become a millionaire, increasing your income. So I'm going to give you some numbers here, why this is important. Okay, let's just say you make $60,000 a year, slightly above the median income in the United States, median household income. $60,000 a year, and you're able to save up $10,000. You do not invest that $10,000. We're not going to invest that $10,000, but you're able to save up $10,000 a year from that $60K a year salary. If you're living outside of LA, New York, Toronto, Chicago, you should be able to do that, or Vancouver, a lot of those cities. It would take you 100 years to have $1 million. And this is, so assuming $50,000 goes towards living expenses, right? Living expenses, and maybe for the most part, apart from buying some couches, maybe a car, you don't have any assets. It would take you 100 years to save up $1 million to become a millionaire. Let's do the same calculation with different incomes. Okay. So actually going back to that one. So people focus too much on saving like $15,000 instead of, if someone's making $60,000, a lot of the times people focus too much on saving. How can I save an extra $5,000? How can I save an extra $10,000? But what you should be focusing on is increasing the top line, increasing the 60K to a higher number. So a higher number, let's say it is $100,000. So you make $100,000. From that, let's say you're able to save $30K a year. That's actually a lot to save, but it's very, very doable. Save $30K a year. So again, if you don't invest that money, it would take you 33 years to become a millionaire. All right? This is just very simple math. And again, let's say you increase your income one more time, $200,000 a year, which is a lot of money. You save $50,000 a year from that. It would take you 20 years. So just by increasing that top line, it's going to significantly cut down the amount of time it would take for you to become a millionaire. And if you're only making $40,000, $50,000 a year and you're living paycheck to paycheck, unless you're investing in something or starting something on the side, it's going to be very difficult for you to save up or even invest the money to actually become a millionaire in the long run. All right. So number 3 is very close to number 2. It's tied into number 2. Invest. Invest your savings. Don't just have it sit around like in the last example. So we're going to go back to the last example though. And let's say you invested all of that money. So remember, $60,000, you saved $10,000 a year from that 60K. So you saved $10K a year. You invested in the stock market at a 6% rate. That's a pretty decent rate. If you include all the ups and downs, 6% is a pretty good rate. I would say it's slightly above average, maybe average. It really depends. Kids over the long term, 6% is decent. So if you invested at 6% and you had the exact same amount of savings from the person who took 100 years to become a millionaire, it would take this person 32 years. Just by investing in their savings in the stock market, it cut down their time to become a millionaire by 68 years. That is compound interest, my friends. And this is the 60K person. So here's this example. Here's this crazy example. It pretty much takes the same amount of time. If you were to make 60K a year and invest all of that money, it would take the same amount of time to become a millionaire versus the person who was making $100,000 a year and wasn't investing their money. Crazy, right? All right, so again, we'll just the 2 more examples. The $100,000 a year example, if you were to invest $30,000 a year, it would take you 18 years, all right? So that cut down their time to become a millionaire by about half. Again, $200,000 a year, and you're to invest $50,000, it would take you 12 years to become a millionaire versus 20 years. So cut it down by about, 40% there? So just by investing your money, that's a big thing if you want to become a millionaire. Just by investing your money, it could cut down your time to become a millionaire by half for a lot of people, sometimes more. So invest, invest, invest. Make sure you are safe. Do not buy stupid stocks. Do not invest in dumb stuff. Be safe with your investments. Okay, number 4. We've talked about this a lot. Live below your means. If you are making $60,000 a year, you should not be living as if you you should not be living as if you think you're making $70,000, $80,000 a year. You should be living as if you think you're making $50K a year and then putting $10K aside. Probably, maybe even putting a little bit more aside a year. Living below your means, just simple. This is something I don't want to cover too long because I've covered it so many times. Just don't be stupid. If you're making $50K a year, you're not rich, okay? You're doing okay. You're doing well to support yourself. You're doing, especially at global scale, you're doing really good, okay? But you cannot go buy. You should not be thinking about buying a Mercedes-Benz if you're making $50K a year. You just shouldn't be doing that. Okay, let's move on to number 5. This is one it's debatable, but this one is a very common trait for millionaires. Buying a house seems to be very common. A lot of people become millionaires through real estate. by just buying their house. I think it's almost the majority of people, after they make their money as a business owner, executive, or manager, or something similar, they put their money into buying a house. And that house, a lot of the times end up when you buy it, it'll be worth $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, and over the next few decades, sometimes it goes up to $1 million. Sometimes it might go down, so you shouldn't bet on it. But it can be an investment sometimes. So I wouldn't say that buying a home is an investment. I always consider it a neutral. So if you're buying a primary home, my personal opinion is that it is neither an investment nor a liability. It is just a neutral thing. Because if you were to buy one in Manhattan, there's no houses there. If you were to buy one on the outskirts in New York somewhere, it's probably going to go up in value over time. Just on the outskirts, or even in Toronto. But again, if you were to buy a house in Detroit in the 50s, it's going down. A lot of those houses went to zero. So it really depends on where you buy. It can be an investment. A lot of the times it works out, sometimes it doesn't. So buying a house is debatable. Number 6, this is just a trait, and this is be healthy. People who tend to live a long time, people who have high productivity, who make a lot of money, they tend to eat pretty well. They usually are not extremely overweight or anything. They usually go exercise a lot. These are just millionaire traits. A lot of the times they have routines, wake up early, go to bed early. They have, again, healthy eating habits. They take vitamins. There's a lot of really random things that income is correlated to. And being healthy, a lot of the time, now I know being rich also makes it easier to be healthy, but being healthy also makes it easier to be rich, right? Those are two things. So the best example of that is, if you're poor, you cannot afford, fresh chicken from the market, right? Which is fresh chicken breast, where it's a very healthy food and some fresh veggies, right? Sometimes you can only afford McDonald's, and that's not the healthiest food, and you go off a Big Mac and you're not getting a lot of nutrition from that. And so that makes you feel worse, and maybe you're not as productive, right? But if you're eating healthy, let's say you are able to get some healthy snack for $1 somewhere at the grocery store. Maybe you get some healthy full grain oats granola bar or something, which is decent, versus McDonald's. That's going to make you feel better. It's going to make you more productive, have more energy, makes your earning potential higher. So just being healthy is one of those things that really helps with productivity and earning potential. Let's see here. Number 7, we're gonna spell knowledge with an A. Knowledge. As Tai Lopez says, knowledge. We'll spell it with an O, just to make sure that all the people who are just watching this, I don't know if you're watching this, but just knowledge. Okay, knowledge. So keep learning new skills. This is a very, very common trait too of millionaires, especially business owners. Keep learning new stuff about anything, new skills, new habits. Again, you want to learn about new food, new trends, new business ideas, new techniques, new skills. It's very common for millionaires to read books and podcasts now, and listen to podcasts, listen to audiobooks. I do that religiously. I listen to business podcasts and business books every day, like all hours a day, 2 hours a day minimum, I would say. I go through audio stuff. So again, this is something you guys need to think about. If you guys are watching this in podcast form or YouTube, you guys are doing a good job. You guys are trying to gain information. That's really important. So you guys, probably this isn't a problem for you guys. But again, like it's a requirement. It's almost a requirement to become millionaires, just to keep learning over time. All right. Number 8, lastly, is good credit. This is tying into buying a house. So, I mean, there's a few things here actually that I want to mention. Let's say you get behind on your credit cards. You get behind because you didn't pay them off. You bought something that was too expensive. Sometimes you lose your job, and it's understandable to use credit cards. But let's say you overspend and you're late on your payments, and you start making minimum payments. All of a sudden, that credit card interest rate goes up to 20%. Your credit score goes down, and maybe something you bought, maybe your monthly bill was $3,000, and you're making monthly payments. That $3,000, whatever you bought for $3,000, that's going to end up costing you, potentially, if you don't pay it off on time, tens of thousands of dollars, just by doing that, just by being late on payments. Now, the other thing, mentioned this, so that's obviously, that's going to hinder you in the long run, right? It's very difficult to dig out of debt. out of a pile of debt with a 20% interest rate. But the other thing here with credit is that building up credit early on and having a good credit score and doing it on time, it makes borrowing money a lot cheaper. So I've mentioned this already, I've mentioned this before, is that if I were to walk into a mortgage place and my credit score was, 810 or something like it, or 800, my interest rate could be substantially lower if you negotiate well, way lower than someone whose credit score is 610 or 650 or 680. I could get a much better rate, which would save me tens of thousands of dollars for a house. Maybe sometimes it's for a business. You get a better business loan interest rate. So having a good credit score, it really helps with specifically buying a house. It makes you pay a lot less money in interest to the bank, which is very good in the long run. It makes it a lot easier to become a millionaire. So I'd like to thank you very much for watching. That is going to wrap this video up. If you want to support this channel, check out joisk.com. It is my e-commerce marketplace. We have a lot of stuff on there for pretty cheap, low prices. And yeah, make sure to check out my business blogs, because my business vlogs, I've been making some of those. I've been trying to vlog how to build a t-shirt company. I've taken a 2-day break from the t-shirt stuff. I'm going to jump back into that over the next few days to help market the t-shirts and to help to sell them and make logos. And I'm showing you guys how to build businesses. So I'm going to start a new business in the next few weeks. But I'm really trying to provide you guys with a lot of value, and I hope you really appreciate it, because I'm still doing the whiteboards and I love them. I love doing these. I also really want to build real businesses to show you guys how to not just like be an online marketer, which pretty much everyone on YouTube that does these kinds of videos is. Like, and just, yeah. So hopefully you guys like this channel. Remember to subscribe, hit the like button, and you guys are all very beautiful people. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.